Part 51. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 501. Chapter 501. Zheng and Tanyuj were lovers. 1. Tanyuj's place was noisy because Murong 11's appearance attracted many people's eyes and attention. Qian Yuman and Wang Tianyu also watched, and Wang Tianyu's eyes became intriguing. Manman, I remember you once told me that Tanyuj doesn't love you. I can feel that when you told me, you really thought so. Qian Yuman stopped what he was doing and frowned slightly. So what if it is? So what if it's not? Only Tanyuj and Qian Yuman know about this matter. Qian Yuman will not go around shouting that Tanyuj doesn't love her, nor is it a shameless thing. In the eyes of outsiders, their husband and wife were very loving, almost as good as one person. Even she sometimes felt that Tanyuj actually loved her, but she just didn't know what was in her heart that made her not believe in love. Hearing Wang Tianyu say so firmly that Tanyuj didn't love her, she felt very uncomfortable and felt a little depressed, but she couldn't tell from the outside. Actually, I know why he doesn't believe in love. It's not because what you said is credible, but I know why. Qian Yuman looked at Wang Tianyu in surprise. You know? How did you know? Wang Tianyu raised his chin with a wicked smile on his lips, a little arrogantly. Since Tanyuj and I have been enemies for so many years, and we have been friends for so many years when we were young, don't we still know a basic understanding of him? I know very well what he is thinking. You know? Tell me quickly, what is the reason? Qian Yuman wanted to know a little anxiously. As the saying goes, a person who knows his enemy and himself will never be defeated in 100 battles. Only by knowing where Tanyuj's heart is, can he capture his heart quickly. It is said that the person who knows a person best is often his enemy. As for Wang Tianyu, he was once one of Tanyuj's closest people and is now his biggest enemy. The expression on Wang Tianyu's face became more unpredictable, and the looks in their eyes when looking at Tanyuj became more meaningful, showing some sarcastic smiles. Manman, do you know why Tanyuj doesn't love you? Because he has someone in his heart. Qian Yuman's eyes almost brightened when she stared at Wang Tianyu, but when she heard clearly what Wang Tianyu said, her expression froze. What did you say? Qian Yuman's voice was trembling. He said that there was someone in Tanyuj's heart? Who? Wang Tianyu pointed at Tanyuj and Murong 11. How do you think the two of them get along? Qian Yuman looked over and saw that there was nothing wrong. Tanyuj had a very good relationship with the Murong siblings. She had also gotten along with Murong 11 several times before, and felt that this man was quite similar to Murong, yet only a little more calm. He looked cold and cool on the outside, but he had a very venomous tongue. You will be more lively and cheerful when facing people you know well. Don't change the subject. Did you just say that Mr. Tang has someone in mind? Are you trying to frame me? Wang Tianyu smiled lightly. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. Speak quickly. Qian Yuman couldn't help but raise her voice, unable to control her emotions. She didn't expect that her mood would be affected so easily by Mr. Tang. Don't you think Tanyuj and Murong 11 have a good relationship? I tell you, they were once together. Do you believe it? It's impossible. Mr. Tang has always been Murong 11's sister. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 502. Chapter 502. Zheng and Tanyuj were lovers too. Look carefully at the way Murong 11 looks at Tanyuj. Do you think this is the way a sister looks at her brother? Wang Tianyu chuckled, as if he was laughing at her. Qian Yuman looked over and observed very carefully. As he looked at it, there really seemed to be something there. The way Murong 11 looked at Tanyuj was a little too calm as the way he looked at ordinary people. It seems like he is trying hard to suppress his emotions and prevent them from showing in his eyes. If it is true that Murong 11 likes Tangyuj, Qian Yuman is a little surprised. There is no sign that they have ever been together. Wang Tianyu saw that Qian Yuman didn't believe it and continued. They were in the same school when they were in high school. If you go to their school and ask, no one will know that the two of them have dated before. You will know after a little inquiry. Although Murong 11 is a little older than Tangyuj, it did not stop them. The pace of the relationship. However, the relationship later broke up due to something happening, and Tangyuj was dumped. From then on, Tangyuj no longer believed in love. The strangest thing is that they can continue to be friends and even set up a company. If you ask me why they broke up, it's a mystery. Even if you ask me, I don't know. Qian Yuman couldn't help but kick his wheelchair and said angrily. You have to find a good one even if you are making it up. Do you think I will believe what you say? I understand. You are deliberately lying to me and inciting feelings between me and Mr. Tang. I will not let you succeed. Hey. I kindly reminded you when I saw that we had a good relationship when we were children. I didn't expect that you still didn't believe it, causing me to waste my words. Qian Yuman glared at Wang Tianyu angrily, pushing the wheelchair and throwing him into the sun. Don't you want to bask in the sun? Then get enough of it. She threw Wang Tianyu into the sun and ran away. Wang Tianyu's lips curved into a mocking smile, and he closed his eyes in enjoyment, feeling the warmth of the sun. You stupid woman, you still say you don't believe it, will you still be angry if you don't believe it? After Qian Yuman ran away, she couldn't let go of the news that Tangyuj had dated Murong 11 for a long time. She tried hard to tell herself that it was Wang Tianyu's nonsense, but she felt uncomfortable no matter how much she thought about it. Qian Yuman covered her little heart and tried to stabilize her emotions. In the end, she couldn't help but run to Murong 11 to ask for clarification. She had to ask clearly, but she didn't dare to ask Tangyuj directly. Even if Tangyuj answered yes, she really didn't know how to face Tangyuj in the future. Qian Yuman walked to Murong 11, grabbed her hand, and said with a smile. Sister Murong, I have a question to ask you. Murong 11 looked at her with cold eyes, smiled slightly and nodded. Good. Qian Yuman took Murong 11 to a secluded place, looked around to make sure no one was nearby, and then plucked up the courage to ask. Sister Murong, I hope you won't be angry after hearing what I'm going to ask about next, and you will answer me honestly. Qian Yuman started in a serious tone. You ask, Murong 11 smiled slightly. Have you ever been in love with my husband? Qian Yuman hesitated for a long time before saying what she wanted to ask. The moment she said it, her heartbeat accelerated rapidly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 503. Chapter 503. God bless you, you have an incurable disease. 1. Qian Yuman finally said what she wanted to ask. The moment she said it, her heartbeat accelerated rapidly. She looked at Murong 11's expression nervously and apprehensively. Murong 11's expression was slightly startled, and he immediately shook his head and chuckled. Manman, who did you listen to? How could I have been in love with Huge? Really not. Murong 11 nodded heavily. I don't. We have been friends from the beginning to the end. I don't know why you asked this question, but I can guarantee with my personality that he and I have been like brothers and sisters from the beginning to the end. There has never been any affection between men and women. Murong 11 reassured her again and again, and Qian Yuman finally let go of her heart that was hanging in the air. Huh, it scared me to death, it scared me to death. Qian Yuman patted her chest. If Tangyuj still had Murong 11 in her heart, she wouldn't know how to deal with this broken relationship. Don't think too much. I can see that Yuj cares about you very much. He only has you in his heart now. Don't get too entangled in the past. Even if there was something in the past, it is in the past. If you hold on to the past, then not good. Murong 11 touched Jian Yuman's head like a big sister. There was an age difference of 5 or 6 years between them. In her opinion, Jian Yuman was like a little sister. Jian Yuman nodded heavily and smiled awkwardly. Sister Murong, I'm sorry, I was just thinking wildly. Murong 11 was right. If she was entangled in Tang Yuz's past, she would probably have a headache. In modern society, it is not normal to have an ex-girlfriend. But it wasn't Murong 11, which still made her feel slightly relieved. Sister Murong, do you also think Mr. Tang has me in his heart? Jian Yuman suddenly remembered what Murong 11 said just now, and her eyes lit up. Yes. Otherwise, why would he marry you? Murong 11 said with a smile. Jian Yuman's expression changed from uneasy to ecstatic. Even Murong 11 felt that Mr. Tang only had her in his heart. Does that mean that Mr. Tang already had her in his heart, but he always felt that he didn't believe in love, so he didn't want to admit that he fell in love with her? Looking back, he felt that his kindness to her was as if it was for his wife, and it was not like the affection he said he had for his sister. Regardless of whether she is the only one in my heart, at least in front of outsiders. Perhaps it's just one step away from becoming the person he loves. The more Jian Yuman thought about it, the more fighting spirit rose in his heart, and he insisted on taking down Mr. Tang. After talking to Murong 11, Jian Yuman immediately returned to the oven with a smile and grilled meat for everyone in a happy mood. Wang Tianyue, who was neglected, was left to bask in the sun when they found Wang Tianyue. It was already 20 minutes later. Fang Qingguo, who had eaten and drank enough at that time, went back to look for the wounded who needed care. He saw Wang Tianyue with his eyes closed and enjoying the sun. When she walked over, he pushed Wang Tianyue. God bless, get up, I've prepared a tonic soup for you, would you like to take a few sips? As a result, Wang Tianyue still had his eyes closed and his body motionless, as if he was asleep. When Fang Qingguo realized something was wrong, he immediately shouted at the top of his lungs. It's not good, Tianyue fainted. A group of people immediately ran over and surrounded Wang Tianyue. Sure enough, they saw Wang Tianyue with his eyes closed tightly. They all ran over without opening their eyes. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 504. Chapter 504. God bless you, you have an incurable disease too. When Fang Qingguo realized something was wrong, he immediately shouted at the top of his lungs. It's not good, Tianyue fainted. As soon as Tang Yuj and his wife, who were still grilling meat, heard that something had happened to Wang Tianyue, they immediately dropped the food in their hands and ran over, gently shaking Wang Tianyue. Tianyue, what's wrong with you? Tang Yuj looked very nervous and shook him gently. Seeing that he didn't react at all, his face turned pale with fright. Jian Yuman blinked. It had been 4 or 5 days since he was last injured. The wounds on his body had healed and stopped bleeding, and he was out of danger. The reason why I was still sitting in the wheelchair was because I was afraid of pulling on the wound and tried to avoid the possibility of the wound opening. It was so good that I fainted. A group of people immediately ran over and surrounded Wang Tianyue. Sure enough, they saw Wang Tianyue with his eyes closed tightly. They all ran over without opening their eyes. Fortunately, Fang Qingguo, a quasi-doctor, was here. He immediately checked Wang Tianyue's condition and made sure that he was breathing and his heartbeat was normal before he breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, you don't have to worry, you won't die, Fang Qingguo said, somewhat dumbfounded. Cousin, what's going on? What's going on with Tianyue? Tang Yuj grabbed Fang Qingguo and asked nervously, how could he faint when he was fine? Fang Qingguo pointed to the sun in the sky and said helplessly. I fainted from heat stroke. Everyone moved their eyes to Wang Tianyu's face. Although he fainted with enjoyment on his face, and his face was slightly red. They never expected that Wang Tianyu fainted, and everyone was dumbfounded. How could you have heat stroke? Tanyuj was stunned for several seconds, and then he said, a little lost his voice. Qian Yuman, the initiator, tried hard to hold back his laughter and analyzed the matter seriously. Tianyu is indeed not an ordinary person. He can even faint under the sun at 27 degrees Celsius. He even boasted to me before that he once stayed under the sun at 35 degrees Celsius for 5 or 6 hours and was fine. It was a slap in the face. Perhaps he is still weak, and I didn't expect him to faint from the sun. With the temperature in Berlin, it is really rare to faint from the sun. Everyone moved Wang Tianyu back in a panic, and Fang Qingguo quickly took care of Wang Tianyu, who had a heat stroke. By the time Wang Tianyu woke up again, it was already half an hour later. After he woke up, he saw many people around him, all looking at him with sad eyes. What are they doing? Why are they all here? Shouldn't he still be basking in the sun? Qian Yuman suddenly opened her throat and wailed sadly. God bless you. I am no longer angry with you, nor am I annoyed with you anymore. It was all my fault before, so just cherish your little time in the future. Tanyuj also sounded sad, covering his face with his hands. Feeling sad, he turned his head and looked at the scenery outside the window. God bless, I will try my best to make time for you in the future. Ha! What? Wang Tianyu looked puzzled. The most exaggerated person on the side was Tang Xingai, who suddenly threw himself on the bed and burst into tears. Brother Tianyu, although we have not known each other for a long time, you are like my elder brother in my heart. I will never quarrel with you again. I just want you to live well. Fang Qingguo was even more exaggerated, crying so hard that his face was almost distorted by crying. God bless, I don't want you to die. Only Qi Lili, Tang Feishan, and Murong 11 stood a little far away, looking at them like outsiders. Give all your monthly tickets, recommended tickets, and banknotes to your Majesty's baby. Hey, 10 more updates today. Ha ha ha. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 505. Chapter 505. God bless you, you have an incurable disease. 3. Only Qi Lili, Tang Feishan, and Murong 11 stood a little far away, looking at them like outsiders. But they knew nothing and would never join in with them and respond to Qian Yuman's attempt on Wang Tianyu. When he woke up, Wang Tianyu felt that the world had changed and looked at them in confusion. Which song was he singing? What's wrong with you? Wang Tianyu had a strange expression on his face, staring at the people in front of him who looked sad. Qian Yuman looked at Wang Tianyu sadly, stretched out her hand and patted the back of his hand gently, with 2 lines of tears streaming down her face. Cherry's little mouth opened, trembling slightly, but she said nothing. Fang Qingguo's performance was not bad either. He covered his face with his hands, turned his head and cried loudly. I really hate that my medical skills are not good enough. I don't want to see Tianyu die. Died. Why curse him to death? Isn't he a good person? Although the injuries were quite serious, there was still no chance of death. Tang Xingai lay directly on the quilt, slapped the quilt and cried wildly. I have never met a relative like this. It turns out that I am about to experience the feeling of losing friends and relatives. It is so sad, Tang Xingai shouted, and his little girlfriend Yang Yanliu beside him gently patted his back to comfort him. Xingai, don't be sad. Seeing you cry makes me want to cry. Yang Yanliu's nose was red. She clearly didn't want to participate in this persecution, but she was infected by the atmosphere they created and saw her boyfriend looking sad. The nose couldn't help but turn red. What on earth are you doing? Each one of them is as if I'm going to die and they're mourning me. Wang Tianyu yelled at them angrily, feeling uneasy when he saw their appearance. Mirongye also had a sad look on his face, walked to him and sighed deeply. Wang Tianyu, you fainted just now. Wang Tianyu was slightly surprised. He was a little dizzy just now while basking in the sun, and then he fell asleep with his eyes closed. Looking back now, I have no memory of returning to the room. Could it be that they were sad because he fainted? It shouldn't be. Then what? Then the doctor came to examine you, and at the same time he took the examination report that he had done for you before. The report showed that you had cancer, that is, in the brain, and now it has metastasized to your face. If you don't believe me, just touch your face, you will find that your face is burning and painful, and it is also a little swollen. Mirongye explained his situation clearly and turned his head sadly. After so many years of hostility, he was still sad that his enemy was about to die. The highest state of deceiving others is to deceive oneself, so at this moment Mirongye's performance was the most realistic, without Tang Xingai's exaggeration. Cancer. Wang Tianyu looked in disbelief. Did he hear it correctly? He has cancer? Just kidding. Looking at the sad faces of a group of people, if it was a joke, it must be too big. These people had seen him a little unhappy before and would quarrel with him from time to time, but they had never seen them so sad. Their relationship was not that good. It must be fake. Wang Tianyu judged, but seeing Qian Yuman's sad look, his certainty began to waver again. You guys chat, let's go first. Qi Lili, Tang Feishan and Mirong 11 said almost in unison, and then left the room. When they walked a little further, a group of people laughed together. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 506. Chapter 506. God bless you, you have an incurable disease. 4. I was so amused by the funny scene just now that I was rolling on the floor. It was so interesting and fun. Especially when I saw Wang Tianyu's confused look, I found it interesting in retrospect. You've already made this joke. Wang Tianyu thought about it and felt that they were joking. Everyone froze for a moment almost at the same time. The first person to react was Fang Qingguo. She had tears on her face and hesitated to speak. She directly grabbed his hand and touched his handsome face. His face was red and swollen due to heat stroke. This was a sequelae of heat stroke, but that was not the case in Fang Qingguo's mouth. God bless you, touch your face and see if it looks different. This is because your cancer cells have metastasized. Wang Tianyu stretched out his hand and touched his face gently. Sure enough, it hurt a little. He frowned and wanted to get out of bed, but felt dizzy. Qian Yuman supported Wang Tianyu and said sadly, God bless you, I know you can't accept the fact that you have cancer for a while, but this is an indisputable fact. We must face it correctly in order to fight the disease. Although it has reached an advanced stage, chemotherapy and other treatments are basically useless. But it doesn't matter. I know a traditional Chinese medicine doctor in China. She has very good medical skills. A patient once drank her traditional Chinese medicine and lived a few years longer. Fang Qingguo nodded repeatedly. Yes. If you do chemotherapy or give up treatment, you will only have 1 month to half a year at most. If you follow the Chinese medicine I introduced, you may still live for 1 or 2 years. No matter what, we must actively cooperate with the treatment. Tang Yuj, who had his back to Wang Tianyu, said in a deep voice. The sadness in his voice was self-evident. Wang Tianyu's face gradually turned ugly, and he doubted whether what they said was true. Looking at the expressions of the people in front of him and what they just said, he looked at them a little absent-mindedly. I really have cancer, isn't this a dream? Well, Fang Qingguo was the first to run out crying. Qian Yuman looked at Qingguo's cousin and asked to take her with her. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Tang Xingai and his little girlfriend were the second ones to run out. Their movements were not small. Murongye also sighed deeply, turned around and walked out after him. His endurance was much higher than the others. Qian Yuman had a stomachache and the expression on her face became weird. She really couldn't bear it anymore. Mr. Tang, I will leave you two brothers to have a good chat, and you must persuade Tianyu not to give up treatment. After saying this, Qian Yuman lowered her head sadly and walked out slowly, and kindly closed the door, leaving them a private space. The moment she closed the door, Qian Yuman waved her hands and feet and jumped excitedly towards her friends. When Qian Yuman came closer, he saw that his friends were already laughing. Tang Xingai burst into tears with laughter. Fang Qingguo's huge body was rolling on the ground. The scene was also extremely beautiful. Qian Yuman bowed her hands to her friends. Thank you for your cooperation just now. Ha ha ha, it's so fun, Tang Xingai laughed, but there were no tears on his face. He couldn't cry, so he just lay on the bed and pretended to cry. Tianyu's expression just now was wonderful. Qian Yuman looked in the direction of Wang Tianyu and showed a sly smile. Hum hum. Wang Tianyu, because you offended me before and wanted to use me to retaliate against Mr. Tang, if I don't punish you a few times, my name will not be Qian Yuman. Why? Naughty little Manman and poor Tianyu were both confused. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 507. Chapter 507 The Unsolvable Not One. After Wang Tianyu fainted, Qian Yuman teamed up with all the friends he knew to deceive Wang Tianyu. Originally, the purpose was just to rectify Wang Tianyu, but later a temporary addition was added to give the two brothers who were once good friends a chance to face each other's sincerity. Tang Yuj, who originally didn't want to cooperate with Qian Yuman's persecution, readily agreed to trick Wang Tianyu together. After Qian Yuman and the others left, Tang Yuj was left alone in Wang Tianyu's room. Tang Yuj stood with his back to him. Wang Tianyu closed his eyes and pretended to sleep while digesting the news that he had an incurable disease. Many people find it difficult to accept the news that they are going to die, but Wang Tianyu behaved extremely calmly. I can still pretend to sleep with my eyes closed, my face can still maintain its original look, and I don't make a fuss. The two of them were too quiet, unusually quiet, and no one wanted to talk. Tang Yuj and Wang Tianyu's way of getting along these days is either bickering or ignoring each other. As long as Tang Yuj and Wang Tianyu say a word, it will turn into a quarrel. Tianyu will always mock him in a bad tone, always making the atmosphere very awkward. In the end, Tang Yuj will just stop talking, which will eventually turn into a quarrel. Having been hostile for so many years, they have long been accustomed to silence and the smell of gunpowder. Tang Yuj turned around and saw Wang Tianyu closing his eyes, feeling a little sad. God bless you, I'm not going to die soon, what else do you want to fulfill? You die, Wang Tianyu replied coldly. Tang Yuj frowned. Why are you so stubborn? You know, I was not wrong at the beginning. Haha, that's my fault, Wang Tianyu sneered. You are not wrong, and I am not wrong either. It is not us who are wrong. I know that you have blamed me and hated me for so many years. Even now, you are not going to die soon, and you are still holding on to the past, even now. Are you still going to be hostile to me? Shouldn't you seize the moment? Safety? There is nothing in this world that I miss. Do you know how happy I am when I sell myself to death? I can finally leave this dirty world, and I don't need to see you getting better and better. You just want me to forgive you and let you enjoy life with peace of mind? Impossible. I will never forgive you in this life unless Dad comes back alive. Wang Tianyu roared angrily at Tang Yuj. His energy and blood rushed to his heart. A wave of dizziness hit him, making his already uncomfortable body weak. He just wanted to rest now. It doesn't matter to him whether it's life or death. Perhaps only death can make the hatred dissipate and prevent the pain from continuing. Even if you are about to pass away, you still won't forgive me, Tang Yuj said in a gloomy mood. Yes, Wang Tianyu said decisively. Even if I still have 3 days to survive, I will spend the remaining 3 days to hate you until I die. Wang Tianyu's mouth showed a cold smile, his eyes looking at Tang Yuj were cold and biting, and he wanted to rush towards you. He was cut into pieces by 1,000 swords. Tang Yuj swallowed his saliva and nodded slowly. Since you are still obsessed with it and want to hold on to that thing and embarrass yourself, I have nothing to say. In fact, you know, even if you hate me and think I should feel guilty for the rest of my life, I will never regret what I did. Everything, because he deserves it. Continue to love me. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 508. Chapter 508 The Unsolvable Not To. I will not regret anything I did, because he deserved it. Tang Yuj's voice was equally cold and ruthless, and his eyes looking at Wang Tianyu were unchangeable and firm. Even after so many years, he had never regretted what he had done. You, Wang Tianyu sat up angrily. Just take good care of yourself. We have different opinions and we have different opinions. As for your life, I will let you watch me get better and better, and then you will find that the hatred in your heart is actually unnecessary. Yes, after Tang Yuj said this, he walked out quickly and did not stay in the room for more than a second. Tang Yuj looks free and easy on the outside, but in fact he is very sad on the inside. The relationship between Tianyu and him may be a knot that will never be resolved in a lifetime. Even when he faced the bad news that he was going to die, he still clung to the past. No matter how hard he tried, it was of no use. His mood was dull and sad, with a sense of sadness that things have changed. The little boy who liked to follow behind him and call him brother has long been a thing of the past, and now they can only be hostile. After Qian Yuman met up with her friends, she came back to wait for Mr. Tang, hoping that the two brothers could talk to each other. When I saw Tang Yuj again, the Tang Yuj in front of me was like Wang Tiankai when he was a child, with a touch of sadness in his beautiful eyes. Brother Wang. Tang Yuj looked at Qian Yuman and saw the worry in her eyes, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. What's wrong? Yes, that's the expression. It was the expression Qian Yuman often saw when she was a child. It turns out that when he was a child, Brother Wang still faced her with a smile when he was in a bad mood. In fact, he was in pain inside, but his younger self didn't notice anything strange about him when he was a child. Have you not reconciled with Tianyu? Tang Yuj nodded, stretched out his arms to hold Qian Yuman into his arms, bent down and buried his face in her chest. Qian Yuman looked down at the sad back of his head, but her face turned slightly red. Why are you doing this at the door? He buried his face directly in her chest, and her face turned red, making her feel so embarrassed. However, when I saw the sad back of Mr. Tang's head, I felt equally depressed and reached out to gently pat his back. Brother Wang, don't be sad, although I don't know what happened between you and Tianyu, but don't be sad, there is no unsolvable knot in this world, let's keep working hard. Kindness. Don't be sad. Qian Yuman stretched out her hand and patted his back gently, as if coaxing a child. She had no choice, she had never coaxed the opposite sex, especially a man as big as Tang Yuj. She didn't know how to explain the important point. She had no idea what happened between Tang Yuj and Wang Tianyu, so there was no way to comfort her. Brother Wang, what happened to you back then that broke your relationship? Qian Yuman still couldn't help but ask. Don't ask, I don't want to tell, I don't want you to know how cruel I was back then. Oh. If you don't want to tell me, I won't ask you any more. Qian Yuman felt the sadness in his voice and shut up obediently. It seems that the reason for their original breakup was very serious, otherwise both parties would not be willing to mention it. It was really uncomfortable to see them in a bad relationship and she couldn't help them. She really wanted to help them untie their knots and get back together. You ask why His Majesty's updates are not on time and there are too few updates. I just want to say that His Majesty's lazy cancer broke out today and has reached an advanced stage. There is no cure. I will work hard to update tomorrow. Crying blindly. There is no cure for lazy cancer. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 509. Chapter 509 Mom's News 1. No matter what she wants, in Qian Yuman's heart, Tangyuj is right. He is a considerate man. Even if he makes a mistake, it must be the other person who made the mistake first. Yes, that's it, he. This is Qian Yuman's purpose. Everything is based on Tangyuj's mood. Everything Tangyuj says is right and everything he does is right. It was Wang Tianyu's fault that made Tangyuj sad. Originally, she wanted to go in and tell Wang Tianyu that he actually didn't have cancer at all, but in the end she chose not to tell him and let him always think that he had cancer. This would be fun and interesting. The next day, while Wang Tianyu was still sleeping in the room, Qian Yuman brought a bowl of it that was so smelly that she once licked it, causing her to hold the toilet and vomit for 10 minutes. That smell still makes her skin crawl when she recalls it. Qian Yuman specifically asked Ji Fan, a talented financier with a master's degree from a medical school, about the best medicine for treating trauma. It is absolutely guaranteed to have no side effects. If I have to talk about side effects, it may be that it is too difficult to swallow. While cooking, the kitchen stunk up. Qian Yuman had no choice but to move the Chinese medicine to boil outside. As a result, no birds or animals were left around, except for the servants who were wearing gas masks and cooking the medicine. When the medicine was ready, Qian Yuman covered her mouth with one hand and carried the medicine to Wang Tianyu's room with a sad expression on her face. God bless, come, this is the Chinese medicine specially prepared for you by King Guo. It is particularly effective against your cancer. Wang Tianyu could smell the smell from a distance. He pinched his nose uncomfortably and stared at the Chinese medicine in Qian Yuman's hand. What is this? The feces you dug out from under the latrine. It smells too bad. Qian Yuman shook her head and said seriously. God bless you, I know you still want to live in your heart. Maybe if you take this patch, you may survive. If you don't drink it, you may only live for a month. Look at your face. He became increasingly pale and feeble, which made me feel sad. Hypocritical Wang Tianyu sneered. If Tangyuj hadn't forcefully picked him up, she probably wouldn't even want to see him. She even pretended to sympathize with him. God bless you, how can you say that? Are all the feelings we had when we were children fake? How can I say that you and I have been in a relationship for 7 years? Seeing that you are about to die, I can let go of my hatred no matter how big it is. Just drink this a bowl of medicine and trying to survive. I won't drink it. Wang Tianyu turned his head and refused. The smell of such an unpleasant smell made him feel bad, not to mention the taste. Qian Yuman placed the bowl on the head of his bed, clutching the clothes on her chest sadly, and turned away sadly, with a big smile on her face, but her voice was trembling. I know you are angry with everyone, but you can't waste your body. I am still waiting for you to live well. When Mr. Tang and I's child is born, I will call you Uncle. God bless. Everyone is looking forward to you living a little longer. And you gave up on yourself. You, she is so sad, why is this? Qian Yuman pretended to cry, her shoulders shaking. Her acting skills are not up to par, She can't shed a single tear now, and she even wants to laugh wildly, so she can only act behind his back. Wang Tianyu frowned, looking at her sad back, and then at the dark Chinese medicine. The wrinkles on his brows could kill a fly. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 510. Chapter 510 Mom's News 2. Stop crying. Wang Tianyu comforted in a contorted manner. The expression on his face was almost tangled to death. It is trouble for a woman to cry. I feel so sad when I think about you not drinking. Drink quickly. Drink quickly. If I don't drink, I won't be able to continue acting. Wang Tianyu's brows furrowed even more tightly. When he saw her back shaking even more violently, his heart ached. Women are trouble. He yelled at her impatiently. Stop crying. If you cry again, I'll take the medicine. Qian Yuman's back froze and she didn't dare to shake anymore. The expression on her face was very strange. She pretended to wipe away her tears with great force and wiped her eyes red. Tianyu, just drink it. Qian Yuman turned around slowly and looked at Wang Tianyu, who picked up the medicine and drank it with his head raised. He was bold and refreshing. That's great. You took the medicine. I'm so touched. Qian Yuman was praising her, and her heart was already full of joy. Wang Tianyu drank up all the medicine in the bowl and placed it heavily on the table. There was still one last mouthful in his mouth that he had not yet swallowed. His brows were twitching constantly, his mouth was bulging, and he raised his head and tried to swallow the last sip of the concoction. His face turned red, he kept patting his chest, and his expression became slightly distorted. He looked like he was worse than dead. Vomit. In the end, Wang Tianyu failed and sprayed out the last mouthful of medicine. His mouth kept twitching up and down, and his tongue stuck out uncomfortably, as if this method could dispel the taste in his mouth. Is there any sugar? Wang Tianyu said painfully. Qian Yuman blinked her innocent eyes and said innocently. Candy? Do you, a man of your age, still need to eat candy? I thought that men like you, who have been struggling in society for many years, do not need to be coaxed with medicine like children. You. Wang Tianyu stared at Qian Yuman, speechless for a while, unable to speak to him. Qian Yuman said regretfully while looking at the spitted concoction on the ground. It's a pity that I didn't drink it all. Will the effect of the medicine be affected? I think I'd better brew some more for you to drink. What? Wang Tianyu almost roared. You still give me this medicine that smells as bad as and tastes bad? Qian Yuman nodded fiercely. Yes. You have to drink another bowl at night. You must drink it continuously for a month to have any effect. If you miss it for one day, you drink it in vain. Wang Tianyu rolled his eyes and fainted on the bed. Let him die now. Qian Yuman left with the empty bowl in her hands. After leaving, she felt relaxed and felt that her great revenge had been avenged. She felt happy thinking that she would be able to see the scene for a long time in the future. Looking at Tianyu's appearance, I'm afraid it won't be easy to coax him in the future, so just send Fang Qingguo to persuade him. He. There is a saying that it is difficult to raise a woman as a villain. In Wang Tianyu's heart at this moment, only Qian Yuman and Ziren are difficult to take care of. Wang Tianyu lived in such pain for a long time, crying every day. It was so pitiful. At the same time, it also established a thought for others: never offend Qian Yuman easily, otherwise she will secretly torture you in various ways, but you will not know it and be forced to accept the torture. Did you have fun? Qian Yuman came out with a medicine bowl and met Qian Yuman, who came to see him. Not bad. Qian Yuman nodded happily. She had been depressed for a long time because she forgave Wang Tianyu casually, but now she feels more comfortable after taking revenge. I have good news for you. There is new news about your mother. End of this chapter.